OutDaughtered. Adam and Danielle Busby announce major family decision that divides fans. OutDaughtered stars Adam and Danielle Busby just announced a major family decision that left TLC fans divided. In the February 26th episode of Danielle and Adam's More Than Reality podcast, the parents of a daughter, Blake, 14, and 10-year-old all-girl quintuplets, Hazel, Riley, Parker, Ava, and Olivia revealed that they were going to homeschool the Quints. "I never would have told you that we would have ever homeschooled our kids," Danielle admitted. "But here we are, accepting that in 6th grade, the Quints will start with a co-op homeschool." Adam added, "That's why we leaned a little bit more to like a homeschool co-op is because, you have the best of both worlds. You have at-home learning, where they can learn at their own pace. But also, you can select certain subjects where they actually go to a teacher. And it's in more of a classroom setting. So they do interact with other students and other kids at their age." That's when Danielle pointed out, "We've got 5. We did talk about, do you think all of them would do this? Do we think some of them go to public school and some of them don't?" But when it came down to the conversations with the Quints, they all wanted to stay together. And they all wanted to do the co-op. In the comments of a clip of the episode that Adam shared on Instagram, fans were divided in their reactions. One critic shared, "Kids need to learn to be around other adults and kids. You won't be able to get them a job from home. They need to adjust to being in the public without parents watching over them." To that, Adam directly responded, "And that's why we are doing a co-op. Kids are also very involved with other sports and activities in public. Homeschool isn't locking your kids in a basement to never go outside." Another follower wrote, "Hope it goes better than when y'all tried to handle the COVID school situation. I could never." Someone else speculated, "AKA we don't like diversity," as yet another wondered, "Just the Quints, not Blake?" However, others fully supported Danielle and Adam's decision to homeschool their kids. One follower shared, "We homeschool all 4 of ours all the way through. Best decision ever." Someone else echoed, "That's so great for y'all. I've been homeschooling for 15 years, and it was the best decision I ever made." Meanwhile, yet another fan commented, "Love this also homeschooling my littles." If you're planning a long-form YouTube video around OutDaughtered, Adam and Danielle Busby announce major family decision that divides fans. Here's a completely natural, conversational direct script. No scene directions, no production cues, just storytelling flow you can read straight through. This is part 1. Since 10,000 plus words is extremely long for one response, I'll continue in the next parts. When it comes to reality TV families, very few have built the kind of loyal, emotionally invested fanbase that the Busby family has. For years, viewers have watched Adam and Danielle navigate the chaos, beauty, stress, and joy of raising 6 daughters, including the only all-girl quintuplets in the United States. Through every milestone, meltdown, medical scare, and milestone celebration, fans of OutDaughtered have felt like they were growing up alongside the girls. So when Adam and Danielle Busby announced a major family decision, it wasn't just news. It felt personal, and almost instantly it divided their audience. Some fans rushed to support them, others questioned them, and many found themselves torn between understanding the family's privacy and feeling emotionally invested after nearly a decade of watching their lives unfold. To really understand why this decision hits so hard, we have to look at the journey that led to it. Adam and Danielle never set out to become reality TV stars. When OutDaughtered premiered on TLC in 2016, the premise alone was extraordinary. The world was introduced to Blake, the proud big sister, and the tiny quintuplets, Ava, Olivia, Hazel, Riley, and Parker, who quickly became household names. At first, the show focused on survival mode. Sleepless nights, feeding schedules, diaper changes that seemed never-ending. The overwhelming reality of raising 5 infants at once while also making sure Blake felt seen and special. But as seasons passed, the show evolved. We saw Danielle's health struggles and the emotional toll it took on her. We watched Adam become more vocal about mental health, opening up about postpartum depression, something rarely discussed among fathers. That vulnerability made the family feel real, relatable, human. The Busbys weren't perfect. They argued. They disagreed. They admitted when they were exhausted. And that honesty built trust with viewers. Which is why the recent announcement felt like such a turning point. Adam and Danielle shared that they had made a significant family decision, one that would impact not just their daily lives, but the future of their presence in the public eye. For some fans, it felt like the end of an era. For others, it felt overdue. The reaction online was immediate. Supporters praised them for prioritizing their children. Many argued that the girls are growing up fast, and being on reality TV brings pressures no child truly understands at a young age. As the Quints get older, their personalities are more defined. Their opinions matter more. And privacy becomes more important. But critics weren't silent either. Some questioned the timing. Others wondered if it was financially motivated. A few even accused the couple of being inconsistent, pointing out how much of their lives they've willingly shared over the years. And that's where things get complicated. Because being a reality TV family isn't just about filming. It becomes a brand. Social media partnerships. Sponsored content. Business ventures. The Busbys have built multiple income streams from Danielle's boutique to Adam's entrepreneurial efforts, all partially fueled by the visibility the show provided. So when a major family decision suggests stepping back, shifting direction, or redefining boundaries, it impacts more than just a filming schedule. It affects an entire ecosystem built over nearly 10 years. But here's what many fans forget. Before the cameras, before the contracts, before the headlines, Adam and Danielle were just parents. And parenting changes. The needs of newborn quintuplets are drastically different from the needs of preteen girls forming their identities. What worked in season 1 doesn't necessarily work now. Sources close to the family have hinted that this decision wasn't made overnight. It came after months of reflection, conversations about long-term effects, consideration of how the girls feel about growing up on television. And that's something viewers rarely see, the private discussions that lead to public announcements. For years, the Busbys have balanced authenticity with protection. They've shared medical challenges, but kept certain diagnoses private. They've filmed arguments, but avoided exposing deeply personal conflicts. Still, as children age, the stakes get higher. School dynamics change when classmates know intimate details about your home life. Friendships can be affected. Social media commentary becomes more intense. And let's be honest, the internet isn't always kind. Danielle has previously spoken about the pressure of reading negative comments. Adam has acknowledged stepping back from social media at times for mental health reasons. Multiply that by 6 daughters who will eventually read those comments themselves. Suddenly, the decision doesn't seem so shocking. But for longtime viewers, there's grief in it. People have invested years into this family's journey. They celebrated Hazel's eye surgeries. They laughed at Riley's sass. They admired Parker's sensitivity. They cheered when Danielle opened her boutique. They worried during marital strain rumors. To some fans, the show feels like extended family. So when boundaries shift, it can feel like rejection even if it isn't meant that way. What's interesting is how divided the fanbase truly became. On one side, they owe us nothing. Protect your kids. On the other, you built your platform on sharing your life. Why change now? Both perspectives come from emotion. Reality TV creates a unique bond. Unlike scripted shows, viewers believe they're watching real growth in real time. That emotional investment can blur lines between entertainment and entitlement. Adam and Danielle's announcement forced fans to confront that blurred line. Is following a family for years the same as knowing them? And does public support translate into ownership over their choices? These are uncomfortable questions, but important ones. The Busbys didn't become famous for drama or scandal. They became known for resilience, teamwork, organized chaos, and the love between sisters. That brand is powerful, but it's also fragile. Because once children hit certain ages, the content naturally shifts. Cute toddler tantrums become teenage conflicts. Innocent misunderstandings evolve into real emotional struggles. At what point does filming cross from documenting life into exploiting vulnerability? That's a question many reality families eventually face. Some double down. Others step away. A few try to find a middle ground. The Busbys appear to be choosing recalibration rather than complete disappearance. They haven't announced vanishing from the public eye entirely. Instead, they've hinted at redefining how much access viewers get. More control, more intention, possibly fewer cameras. And that nuance is what sparked so much debate. Because in today's influencer-driven world, stepping back is rare. Most public figures expand exposure over time. More content, more platforms, more access. Choosing less feels almost rebellious. There's also the financial reality. Running a household of 8 in Texas isn't cheap. Travel, activities, education, medical care, the costs add up quickly. Fans questioning whether the decision makes sense financially aren't necessarily attacking. Some are just curious. But finances alone rarely dictate parenting choices. Danielle has spoken openly in the past about burnout, about juggling motherhood and business ownership, about feeling stretched thin. Adam has reinvented his career multiple times, leaning into creative and digital work that allows flexibility. Maybe this decision is less about controversy and more about sustainability. Because here's something rarely acknowledged: reality TV contracts can be intense. Long filming days, reshoots, production schedules that don't pause for emotional exhaustion. Now imagine that multiplied by 6 children with different needs. And imagine being the parent trying to keep everyone balanced. The more you think about it, the more understandable the decision becomes. But that doesn't erase disappointment for fans who looked forward to new seasons. It doesn't stop speculation. And it certainly doesn't silence social media debates. Some longtime viewers expressed concern that stepping back might reduce transparency. Others argued that true fans will follow regardless of format, whether through occasional updates, curated content, or limited filming. Interestingly, this situation highlights a broader shift in reality television. Audiences today are more aware of child privacy issues. Conversations about consent, especially for minors, are louder than they were in 2016. What once felt harmless now invites scrutiny. Parents of child influencers face increasing pressure to safeguard earnings, limit exposure, and protect mental health. The Busbys are not isolated from that conversation. In fact, being one of TLC's most recognizable families puts them directly under that spotlight. And perhaps that's part of why this decision feels major. It signals awareness. It suggests growth. It implies that Adam and Danielle are thinking beyond ratings and into long-term consequences. Still, the emotional split among fans remains real. Some feel abandoned. Others feel proud. And maybe both feelings can coexist. Because loving a show and respecting a family's boundaries aren't mutually exclusive. As this new chapter unfolds, one thing is clear. The Busby story isn't ending. It's evolving. Whether that evolution means fewer episodes, a different platform, or simply tighter boundaries, it reflects a family entering a new stage of life. Blake is no longer the tiny big sister we first met. The Quints aren't toddlers anymore. They're forming opinions, friendships, dreams. And perhaps the biggest takeaway from this divided reaction is this: growing up changes everything, even for families we've watched from our living rooms for years. The question now isn't whether fans agree. It's whether they're willing to grow alongside them. What made this situation even more intense was how quickly social media amplified everything. Within minutes of the announcement, comment sections exploded. Instagram posts filled with heart emojis, crying faces, paragraphs of gratitude, but also confusion, frustration, and speculation. Facebook groups dedicated to OutDaughtered lit up with long threads dissecting every word Adam and Danielle used. Some fans analyzed tone. Others analyzed timing. A few even compared it to previous interviews, trying to spot clues that this decision had been coming. And in a way, it had. If you go back over the past few seasons, there were subtle hints. Conversations about burnout. Discussions about the girls growing up. Moments where Adam and Danielle openly acknowledged how different life felt compared to those early years. The shift wasn't sudden. It was gradual. But audiences often only notice gradual change when it becomes official. One major theme that surfaced in fan discussions was the idea of ownership. After nearly 10 years of watching a family, celebrating birthdays, witnessing tears and triumphs, many viewers feel deeply connected. That connection is genuine. It's emotional. It's powerful. But it's also one-sided. This is where the concept of parasocial relationships comes into play, something that has become increasingly relevant in the age of influencers and reality television. A parasocial relationship is when an audience feels a strong bond with someone who doesn't actually know them personally. It doesn't mean the feelings aren't real.
They are, but they exist in a different dynamic.
When Adam and Danielle shared joyful milestones, fans felt included. When Danielle opened up about her health struggles, viewers felt protective. When Adam spoke candidly about mental health, many saw themselves in his vulnerability. Over time, that builds trust. And trust can create expectation. Expectation that access will continue. Expectation that updates will remain consistent. Expectation that major life decisions will be explained thoroughly. So when a boundary is drawn, even a healthy one, it can feel jarring. Some fans wrote messages saying they felt left out or confused. Others defended the couple fiercely, arguing that no explanation was required beyond, "This is what's best for our family." Interestingly, a third group emerged, the reflective fans. These were the ones acknowledging their own mixed emotions. They admitted feeling disappointed about less content while simultaneously recognizing the importance of protecting the girls as they enter more sensitive developmental stages. That nuance often gets lost in heated comment sections, because social media thrives on extremes.
But the reality is rarely extreme.
It's layered. There's also the business angle that can't be ignored. For years, OutDaughtered wasn't just a show, it was a brand ecosystem. Television appearances led to social media growth. Social media growth led to partnerships. Partnerships supported businesses. Businesses reinforced public visibility. Everything connected. So when fans hear major family decision, some automatically interpret it through a financial lens. Is the show ending? Are sponsorships affected? Is this about money? It's understandable why those questions surface. Reality TV income can fluctuate. Networks adjust programming. Audiences shift. But what many people don't see is how diversified the Busbys have become over time. Danielle's boutique venture, Adam's creative and media pursuits, collaborative brand partnerships, their income streams don't rely solely on one format anymore. In fact, stepping back from constant filming might even create space for more controlled, intentional projects. There's something powerful about shifting from reactive filming schedules to proactive content creation. Instead of cameras documenting every chaotic morning, the family could choose when and how to share updates. Instead of long production days, they might focus on curated moments that feel meaningful rather than mandatory. That kind of shift isn't retreat. It's restructuring. And restructuring often signals maturity. Another layer to consider is the girls themselves. When OutDaughtered began, the Quints were babies. Consent wasn't part of the conversation in the way it is today. The show captured diaper changes, tantrums, medical appointments, all part of early childhood.
But now?
These girls are forming identities. They're in school. They're developing friendships. They're aware of cameras. They're old enough to read comments online. That changes everything. Child development experts have increasingly discussed the long-term impact of growing up in public. While some children adapt well, others struggle with identity boundaries separating who they are from who audiences expect them to be. Adam and Danielle have occasionally hinted at this awareness. They've talked about making sure each child feels seen individually, not just as part of the Quints. They've emphasized encouraging unique interests and personalities. As kids grow older, privacy becomes less about hiding and more about dignity. Teen years, especially, can be fragile. Emotions intensify. Self-image becomes sensitive. Mistakes feel bigger. Imagine navigating that while knowing thousands, sometimes millions of people are watching and commenting. Suddenly, the decision doesn't seem controversial. It seems protective. Still, there's grief attached to change. Longtime viewers remember the early seasons vividly. Hazel's eye surgeries. Riley's strong-willed independence. Parker's shy moments. Olivia and Ava's twin dynamic. Blake stepping confidently into her role as big sister. People didn't just watch, they rooted. So the idea of fewer updates or a potential format shift can feel like losing a tradition. That emotional attachment speaks to how impactful the show truly was. Not every reality series builds that kind of loyalty. But loyalty also means trusting the people you've supported. Trusting that when they say, "This is best for our family," they mean it. Of course, skepticism will always exist online. There are viewers who believe public figures owe complete transparency. Others think stepping back is strategic, building anticipation for a future return. A few suspect conflict behind the scenes. Speculation fills silence quickly. But what's telling is how Adam and Danielle handled the reaction. They didn't lash out. They didn't over-explain. They maintained a calm, measured tone. That consistency aligns with how they've handled criticism in the past, steady, rarely dramatic. And that steadiness reinforces the idea that this wasn't impulsive. It was considered.
It was discussed.
It was weighed carefully. Another interesting dimension is how this mirrors a broader cultural shift. Over the past few years, more public families have begun reassessing exposure. Influencer parents are facing increasing scrutiny over monetizing children's lives. Some states have even begun discussing regulations around child earnings and protections in digital media. Audiences, too, are becoming more aware. Viewers who once eagerly consumed daily family vlogs now ask tougher questions about boundaries. In that context, Adam and Danielle's decision doesn't feel isolated. It feels part of a larger conversation about what responsible visibility looks like. And maybe that's why reactions were so strong, because it taps into something bigger than one show. It forces us to examine our own roles as consumers. Why do we feel entitled to updates? Why does reduced access feel personal? Why do we equate visibility with connection? These aren't comfortable questions, but they're important ones. At the same time, it's okay for fans to feel sadness. When something has been part of your routine for years, change feels disruptive. For many families, OutDaughtered wasn't just background TV, it was something parents watched with their kids, something that sparked conversations about teamwork and sibling love. Losing or reshaping that feels significant. But evolution doesn't equal erasure. The Busby's story isn't disappearing. It's transitioning. There may still be updates, milestone posts, occasional glimpses into family life, perhaps even special projects in the future. Just not the same level of constant exposure. And maybe that's healthy. For the girls. For Adam and Danielle. Even for fans, who can shift from spectators to supporters in a different way. What ultimately divides the audience isn't the decision itself, it's perspective. If you view the family primarily as entertainers, the change feels like losing content. If you view them primarily as parents, the change feels responsible. Both lenses are shaped by emotion. But as the dust settles, one truth stands out. Growing up changes everything. It changes children. It changes parents. It changes shows. And sometimes, it changes how much of life belongs on camera. Adam and Danielle started this journey as overwhelmed parents navigating the impossible odds of raising quintuplets. Nearly a decade later, they're experienced, reflective, and thinking long-term. That growth is visible. Whether fans fully agree or not, the decision reflects a family aware of the weight of public life. And maybe that awareness more than anything is what defines this next chapter. In the end, the divided reaction says less about conflict and more about impact. People only argue passionately about things they care about. And the fact that so many people care this deeply about the Busbys shows just how meaningful their journey has been. The cameras may shift. The format may evolve. Access may narrow.